Hello and welcome to another tutorial by Happy Cloud Solutions. Today we're going to show you how NAT Gateway and Internet Gateway can be used in AWS to secure your environment. So here we're going to create two subnets, the public and the private subnet. We're going to create a Bastion host, and basically this will be used to access the server that is sitting in the private subnet. And then we're also going to create route tables, which enables us to define our route and how traffic is going to flow to this subnet. So let's get to it. First, we go to our AWS console. So now we're in our AWS console and I'm in the Sydney region. And the first thing I want to do is to create my VPC. If it's not something that you've recently visited like me, like if it's something you've not recently visited, just click here, type VPC, or you can also look at the services section and select VPC. So let's go there, and then firstly we'll be creating a VPC named demo VPC. And according to this diagram, you can see that we're using 10.0.0.0/16. So let's do that. Go to VPC, click create VPC, and I'm gonna give it demo VPC. My CIDR block will be 10.0.0.0/16. Okay, everything else should be left as it is. And create VPC. So now that we've done that, we're just going to click on subnet, and then we're going to start with creating the public subnet. Select the VPC you just created, give it a name public subnet. And by the way, just because you give it a name public subnet doesn't mean it automatically becomes a public subnet. It's, the routing that you're going to create and configure, the internet gateway they're also going to, create and then set up with the routing that will enable it to be called a public subnet. Yeah. So this is just a name. So 10.0.1.0/24. Okay. Leave everything else as it is. Create subnet. Create another one. Same VPC. And give it a name. Private subnet. Just gonna sort this. 10.0.2.0/23, because like normally you want your private subnet to be more because it's advised that your most of your resources are sitting in your private rather than your public, just for security reasons. Okay, so now we've created a public subnet, we've created a private subnet. So what next should we do? Let us go create an internet gateway. All right, so create internet gateway. I'll just call it demo IGW just for reference purposes, and create. Okay, so as you can see now, it's in the detached state. Okay, all right. So we would want to attach it to our VPC. So now, if you go back to this diagram, you see that this internet gateway is in our VPC, okay? And then it's being used by the public route. And you can see in the route table, the internet gateway will also be used as the target. All right. So demo VPC, attach. So now that we've done that, let us create a NAT gateway. Hello, viewers. My name is Kachi. This is a short break just to urge and ask you to like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. This channel is used to bring educative videos that are relevant in the information technology world. We bring videos on web development, cloud computing, DevOps, and even artificial intelligence, AI. But the videos are not just limited to that. We also provide videos as they are relevant to the community. We ask that you support us through your likes and subscription. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you as part of our subscribers. Now, let's get back to business. So, before we create the NAT gateway, we want to do something first. We want to create an elastic IP because we need to attach an elastic IP to the NAT gateway. All right. So, just go to elastic IP. I'll just leave the region as it is, leave everything else as it is, and allocate. Okay. So you can decide to give it a name. Just let me give it NAT EIP. All right, so now we've done that. Let's go to the NAT gateway. Create a NAT gateway. Demo-NAT. Remember, it's going to sit in the public subnet. And yep, create NAT gateway. Hooray! So now we've successfully created a VPC, created a public subnet, created a private subnet. We've created the NAT gateway. We also created the internet gateway. So now what next should we do? Next thing we're going to do is to create a route table for both the public and the private subnet. So let's do that. Go to route tables. Okay. And then click on create route table. I'll just call this public RT just to shorten it. Demo VPC as usual. Create. Okay, just before we do the configuration, let me create the other one. So what I can also do is I can call this the private RT. And then you can see that there's a route table that is automatically associated with your demo VPC if you expand it. So you could just rename this one and give it public RT. Save. So now let's click on this one. So for every route table that you create, there's always going to be a local route that is created by default for you, okay? But you then have to add additional routes to enable the function as you please. So before I add the route, let's associate this route table with the public subnet. So now if you remember from our table, we're creating this route to the internet gateway. So let's do that. Okay, click on edit route, add route, internet gateway, and what we just created, save. So now you can confidently call this subnet a public subnet because you've created routes, you've defined it, associated it with the route table that has the internet gateway as a target. So now let's go back to the route table. Click on the private route table, associate it with the private subnet, save. Okay, then next we're gonna edit the routes and select NAT gateway. This save changes. All right, so we've done most of the work right now. We've created the route table. We've created both the route tables. We've done everything here. The only thing remaining for us to do now is creating of the Bastion host and creating of the test server. Okay. Now we're going to create a Bastion host. To do that, just navigate to EC2. When on EC2, just click on instances. And click on launch instance. I'm gonna give it Bastion Host. I'll leave the AMI as the Linux 2023. Leave my instance type as T2 micro. And I'm gonna create a new key pair. I'm gonna use PPK. Okay. And I'll call it Bastion. And create. All right, so that's downloaded. So the next thing we're gonna do is click Edit on Network Settings. Select the demo VPC. Subnet should be in the public subnet because the Bastion host will be in the public subnet. For the auto-assign public IP, I'm gonna disable it because I'm gonna assign an elastic IP to it. And like, it's important to assign elastic IP, especially in highly available infrastructure for resiliency. In case one of your maybe the Bastion host fails, you can always create a new server and then assign it the same IP address, so you don't have to keep on changing IP addresses. So let us create a new one. I'm just going to call it Bastion SG and put this. So I'm just going to allow 22 because it's Linux and we want to be able to SSH into the VM. So I'll leave everything as it is. All right. Let me see. All right. Launch instance. So while this is launching, I'll create another instance, and that's going to serve as the test server in the private subnet. So I'll just click on launch instances. Test server. So I'll use same. So I'm going to create a new key pair, and it's important to have separate key pairs for your private and public subnets, because what if one gets compromised? You don't want your whole environment to be compromised. So I'm going to create a different one and create key pair. Edit, same VPC, different subnet, put private subnet here, public IP disabled, of course. And then we're going to create a new security group, and I'm going to call it test, or let me just call it private -sg. Okay, that's good. So look at source. So let's hope that this one is done creating. Yep. So I'm going to select the Bastion SG as the source because I'm going to use the Bastion host to access the test server. Okay. So we're done with that. Yep. Everything looks good. Click on launch instance. All right, let's go back and see if the Bastion host is done. All right, you can see it's running. So let's look at it. No public IP. So let's go assign a public IP to it. So click on Elastic IPs, allocate Elastic IP, allocate. So we just created one now. Click on it. All right. So we want to associate it with an instance, Bastion host. Okay, so now let's go back to our instances. Click on Bastion host. You can see now it's now assigned a public IP. I remember this public IP came from the Elastic IP, okay? And then when you are going to connect, it's going to reference the EIP, okay? All right, now that is done, let's connect. So I'm going to use putty to connect. Open. So what I'm going to do is, let's go to SSH, auth, credentials. I'm just going to select this one. And the team.237.14453. Open. Accept. I'm logging in as EC2 user. And hooray, we've been able to access the Bastion host, and that is great. That is lovely. So now we're almost at the end. We're almost, we're almost about to, finalize what we started. We're almost about to achieve our objective. So now, remember, this test server doesn't have a public IP, just a private IP, and you want to be able to access this on the internet. What do? First, you need this software. It's called Pagent. Okay, this one. So just open it, like start the service. So because of mine is already open or is already started, it just say Pagent is already running. So if you don't have that running, just start it. Then when you started it, go to your toolbar and then you see the stuff here. So just click on it. You can double click and then it opens up. Then you click on add key. So now go to downloads, select the private key and this one. Now the purpose of this is because we don't want to have to put the key of the private, the server that's sitting on a private subnet. We don't want to put it in the Bastion host. So now we can do something called SSH agent forwarding. So we've added this key. Just go back to putty. So I'm going to close this for now. Let's open putty again. So while on putty, just go to SSH, select allow agent forwarding, come to click on the plus sign on authentication, credentials, select, nope, not private, select Bastion, and let's get the IP address for the Bastion host. This is it. EC2-user. So take note of this. Take note that the IP address you see here is 10.0.1.94. This is the one for the Bastion, okay? So now let's enter into the test server, which is sitting in the private subnet. So remember that we have already, put the key for the private subnet, the server in the private subnet here, okay? So just come here, connect. All right. So as you can see right now, we are now inside 10.0.2.137. Look at it. 10.0.2.137 here, okay? We were initially on 10.0.1, which was the Bastion host. Now from the Bastion host, we've been able to log into the test server, which is this. So now I hope you've been able to follow through this tutorial and we've been able to achieve our aim or our goal of, creating a test server in a private subnet and using the Bastion host to access it. So we've basically brought this architecture back to life. If you have any question, if you have comments, if you have additions, you can always leave it in the comment section and we are more than ready to help you in your journey of understanding how to use the resources in AWS and how to create a more secure environment. All right. See you in our next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Later.